Hello and welcome to Honest Faith Conversations. As always, I am your co-host Miguel Covarrubias.
And I am Cathy Covarrubias. And today, let's talk about Black Mirror, Season 1, Episode 3, The Complete History of You. Whew, that was a long title.
So we decided to do this one in honor of our new doctor, Jodie Whittaker, since this is one of her better known before projects, before becoming the doctor.
Yeah, most people, well, here in the United States especially,
Yeah.
Well, that's like one of the first things that people thought of, like, oh, she's the lady in the Black Mirror episode.
Yeah, or Broadchurch, if you've ever watched Broadchurch.
Maybe we should do another episode on Broadchurch.
No, we'd have to rewatch the entire 2 seasons, and so when season 3 comes out, then we'll do that one.
Okay, that's a good show, guys. Though, so I highly recommend Broadchurch. Side note, end.
So, just a brief review and summary of the episode. This is the episode where they have the grain implants, which record pretty much everything that you see and hear, and you can play those back. And so it really kind of follows this one man, Liam, and his wife, Fee, and their kind of relationship struggles throughout this one episode, and kind of just takes place over one night. So,
Well, one night and morning.
yeah, that's my brief summary.
Yeah. I'll expand on that. The grain. It's one of those things that like everybody has. Very few people don't have it, and if they don't have it, they're seen as like being weird and strange. So it'd be like equivalent today of like people with cell phones, like people who don't have smartphones. People are like, what? You don't have a smartphone? Okay, that's weird. Yeah, I know a few people who don't have smartphones, and
No, I'm just, giving you a look because your brief summaries go off on extraneous details that...
well, I think it's important. I think it's important to remember, and I think it's also important to note that there's critics of both sides of like why this is important to have, why it is a little like stepping over boundaries and not a good thing to have.
Okay.
Yep.
This is probably one of those episodes that I really felt was one of my favorite of Black Mirrors. This one didn't scare me as much as 15 Million Merits. As I said before, 15 Million Merits was the one that really kind of threw me off and really, I think, began this whole transition for me of, am I really making a difference as a youth minister, or should I just, be doing something else? This one was more of, I think, really giving visualization to where I was at. And we'll go into that here in just a few minutes, but it really resonated with me and with my own situation.
Yeah. Yep. Obviously not to the extreme,
Yeah.
what they were dealing with. Yeah. I don't know. Let's get into it.
Okay, you're not going to give a review?
Oh, sorry. I liked it. It was good. What Miguel said. Sorry, I forgot the review portion of it, everybody. Sorry.
So, I really think that this episode, what I had said earlier, was really kind of hit where I was at. I think this episode really kind of embodies what it's like to be somebody who struggles with anxiety, and I really think that it does this in a couple of different ways. And it really kind of focusing on Liam and Liam's real kind of picking apart the little things about, what people say and what people are doing.
Their expressions as well,
Expressions as well. And it begins with his, audit at work or review or whatever.
No, well, I think they called it a review, but essentially it was... he was interviewing for a potential job.
Potential promotion because he already worked there.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So, really, I think it really embodies the anxiety, because I think that's really what each of us who struggle with anxiety do, is we replay those moments in our mind 1,000,001 times. And we really kind of go over it with a fine-tooth comb, and really whatever kind of, sticks out to us as unusual, or as kind of irking our logic, is that will be the one thing that we fixate on, and we end up obsessing about to no end. And I think really obsession is the correct word for it, because that obsession really kind of, it overwhelms us.
Yep. And the thing is too, with your obsessions, it could have just been like somebody misspoke.
Somebody misspoke.
Or maybe they just had an itch, and that's why their eyebrows kind of did what they did. It's just a normal reaction. It had nothing to do with what they were thinking about. So that's one of the dangers about this.
Well, and it has more to do with our body's reaction to several stimuli. Was a Radiolab episode a few months ago that I was listening to that was talking about this, how our gut reactions to things are really saved in our memory. And in that memory, that's the way that our body's going to react again to it, is that our mind does a quick average of all of the reactions that your body has had to a particular situation. And if one of them was more extreme than the others, that will skew the average out to more extreme. Yep. And so in the sense of being anxious is that when you've encountered a situation where something like that before has really led to a traumatic event for you, that average is going to be skewed. So you're going to obsess about those things because that's the way your body is reacting, is that you're going to have that fear response to that stimuli.
So an example of this may be...
This may be like job performance review.
Mm-hmm, yeah. Okay.
And you're going in and somebody says something like, hope that we'll like to see you again. That's something for me, because a lot of my anxiety and my PTSD is surrounded around work performance and work stuff. Is because I've always had those traumatic events, focused around the church when I was working for the church, is fear that I was going to be fired for no reason. Mm-hmm. And because I had been in the past, because any time that came up, is that was a trigger for me.
Yep.
And, that's why we give trigger warnings now. That's why we do these things, is because we tend to obsess about these things. And that obsession goes along with that trigger response. And we end up going into this spiral that it keeps getting darker and darker and darker. Is what if that actually happens? And the what ifs kind of spiral out of control.
Yep.
Is, what if?
And for all that experience, or what the one that you just had, and your reaction that you had to the most recent thing, it could have just been it could have been fine. It could have just been whatever. But because you had a traumatic experience with that situation before, it makes it seem more dire.
Yeah, and in my case, it was more than once.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's why some people already get anxiety when they get the, hey, can I see you in my office in the morning, from their boss? Mm-hmm. Me, it's a full-on breakdown, panic mode that I fall into, because it's happened to me more than once that, that's resulted in me being fired. Mm-hmm. So for no really big, not anything that was really that big of an issue. So, and that's why, it for me, it kind of triggers that PTSD. It kind of triggers that obsessive spiral where I go into this, kind of depression where nothing can make it better. And I think that for Liam in this episode, I think that he struggles with anxiety. I mean, it's never really quite explicit. I think it's just kind of signs that I recognize that, this is something that have happened to me. Mm-hmm. And so I think that within the episode with Liam, I think that, a lot of this kind of stems from his own anxiety. And I can only imagine with the grain that you can actually see and replay in real time exactly. You could zoom in and do all these other things that, would give an anxious mind, incredible amount of time to be able to spiral into and go out of control with.
Yep. And just kind of run away with it. And the thing is too, once you get that idea in your head, that like, oh, that could be a negative sign. It's really hard to not think of it as a negative sign, even though it may not be.
And for me, it's been it's been almost, well, yeah, now a year in therapy. It's been 3 months now on medication. And I mean, I'm just now starting to feel, I can say, I guess, normal, whatever that is for me.
Whatever that is.
So, I mean, I recognize this in Liam, and this is something for me that it really spoke to where I was at. Mm-hmm. And I think there was a lot within this that I said, this is something that in this situation, what I hope to encounter, and that I kind of wish for a lot of people who struggle with this, is for honesty in the relationship. And and I know with you, when I'm struggling with those things, I realized, maybe it was after the first year or maybe the second year of marriage, that if I was completely honest with you about how I was feeling, how I was struggling, that it actually was a lot better. That, my spiral wouldn't get too far out of control, wouldn't really take me that far, unless it was one of these situations where, I just wasn't in control anymore. Mm-hmm. Where it was that, hey, can I see you in my office in the morning? And it was about, something completely,
like, hey,
mundane.
can you help us move this, piece of furniture?
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's really essential with all of the relationships in all of, not just this episode, but in all of reality. I think honesty in our relationships mm-hmm. is an essential thing. And I think that we so often want to hide ourselves, these memories from each other, and we want to, because we are embarrassed by them. We're embarrassed because we're out of control. We're embarrassed because of, our fear over these little things that, we don't want to be honest with each other. Mm-hmm. And I think if Liam was honest with Fee in this episode, I mean, well, granted, it would have been a very short episode, but...
yeah. And done.
And done. They just had a conversation, and that was it.
Yep.
But I think this would have negated everything. I mean, this he obviously needed help. He obviously needed help with anxiety, and he did go off the deep end before with the other guy who was hitting on his wife, or whatever. They didn't really spell it out for you, but since he left for 5 days, and that's what led to the whole thing with Jonas. Is that I think that if he was honest with her about it, and if she was honest with him about it too, if there was that equal support of each other, then there wouldn't be in that problem. And I think this is very true with our communities of faith as well, with religious communities, is that that's a community where you're supposed to trust each other mm-hmm. and to be able to be honest with each other about how you feel. Mm-hmm. And if you dislike somebody on the staff of the church that you're going to, you should have a conversation with that person.
Yeah.
You should be honest with them instead of triangulating and trying to get rid of that person behind their backs and ending up giving them PTSD and some anxiety disorder because of it.
Yep.
Sorry, I'm just a little bitter about that, but...
Well, I think you're bitter about it because it's happened more than once. And not just to you.
It's been to my friends. It's been
mm-hmm.
to other people that I know who are still in ministry.
Yeah.
It's still happening.
Yeah.
And the problem is that it's not going away, no matter how much people talk about it, is that it's still there.
Well,
it's still very much a part of the culture.
Because they're getting away with it. No one that they're speaking about it with is saying, hey, you need to speak to them about this.
Yeah, I know.
That's the problem. They are, the person in the middle is allowing themselves to be in the middle.
It's because we have this love of gossip as human beings. We love being able to be in the middle of all this stuff. No matter how much we say we despise it, and no matter how much we say we dislike drama, we love drama mm-hmm. because it adds some sort of sick and twisted, perverted entertainment to our lives. Mm-hmm. Spectacle, as we call it. And there's a whole other episode about spectacle. That's we haven't even gotten to yet, which probably won't for a while because it's way too real. Because we did elect a cartoon character to office. Sorry, controversial issue.
Yeah.
So, and really, I think that what religion and what Christianity should be about is about a radical love. And this is, oftentimes that I try to tell people is that no matter who you are, no matter what you do, that you will be loved and accepted. Is that it may take a while to gain trust from people, but you will still be loved. You will still be accepted no matter what. And
well, that's what it should be. It's definitely not that.
It's what it should be. And that's what I think that it should be in especially married relationships, that there should not be deal breakers. That there should be those things that you say, okay, look, I'm a little sensitive about this. If something were to come up, then, we need to talk about it. We need to, have an actual honest conversation about it.
And hopefully those conversations should happen before you get married.
Well, yeah.
Before you're officially locked down, because divorce is expensive.
Yeah. Why? Did you look into it?
No. I'm just from family and friends. I know people who've spent a lot more money on their divorce than they did on their own wedding.
Well, that's true. And really, I think this very much has to do with that relationship, because I think that marriage, no matter how much people fight it, but I think that, maybe Jesus was married, but, that's a different story for a different day. But I think that marriage very much is a symbol of how God relates with the church. Is a marriage, is complete trust and honesty and communication, and I mean, this imagery is used throughout scriptures to portray that relationship between God and God's people. Is being
the bride and the bridegroom.
Yeah, exactly. And so I really think that this is something that we as a society need to understand about marriage, but also about our relationship with our faith is being open and honest about these things, especially the things that we don't really understand. Like the Trinity. The Trinity is not an easy thing to understand in Christian faith. I mean, that for one should throw people off. That should throw people, make them ask questions. And I think that's what is essential about this episode of Black Mirror, is that people should be asking questions. Both Liam and Fee should be asking questions of each other. But the thing is, it's a lot of one-sided.
Well, and the questions
from both of them,
and the questions that they were asking were very
pointed.
Yes, and very accusing. It wasn't said for open dialogue. They were asking the questions to prove themselves right.
Yeah, to attack each other.
Yep.
It was not an actual conversation. It was more of, I'm going to attack you with this question. And I think that's what shut Fee down. I think that's what, kind of continued the spiral for Liam. And I think that's kind of why it continued to go that way. And I think that the grain was only a precursor for that. I mean, it was kind of the catalyst for the whole thing. Because this happens in relationships as it is now.
Yeah, and like I said, especially for long-term relationships, in this, you don't have to be married for this to be true. But usually when you go into a long-term relationship with somebody as a partner, you're in it for better or for worse, for the most part. Of course, there's going to be certain circumstances where the worst is something that you need to get away from. But in general speaking, somebody's normal, shortfalls that, can be dealt with, should be seen as being something that you can handle in the relationship. And part of being together for better or for worse is also being supportive during the worst times. And it isn't just about being next to them, being physically present. You have to be emotionally and spiritually present with them as well too, or else nothing is going to ease up or help.
Well, there's something that my therapist said a few weeks ago that I think really rings true for this, is that you do not have to be in the same place as somebody emotionally to be able to help them. And in fact, it's probably better that you're not. This was a pretty stressful week for my family, and it was hard for me to really feel the stress for them, because I was really kind of starting to feel like myself again, like a real human being, rather than, bogged down with extreme empathy for these places where I'm matching them, step for step with their anxiety.
Yeah.
And I think that's an essential part of that too.
Yeah, because if you're going to be as anxious as the person you're trying to help, it's not going to help, because two anxious people trying to help each other not be anxious is not going to work.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it's just double anxious. Yep. Double anxiety. As super anxiety?
No, it's just, it really commits to that spiral.
Yeah.
To the obsession. So.
Well, and notating that, like, if you know that you are somebody who, like, feeds off of somebody's emotions and gets caught up in what they're feeling, and you know that if you continue on trying to help them, it's not going to, like, be, like, helping you out. Sometimes you gotta be tough and just be like, hey, at this point in time, like, I've helped you as much as I possibly can, but I need to make sure that I protect my psyche as well, too. So, like, maybe here's some other resources you can go to. Like, maybe you should talk to our other friend. Just giving them, instead of just, like, walking out, like, and without explanation, like, giving them a reason, like, hey, like I know you're dealing with a lot of stress in your life right now. It's causing me to have a lot of stress and thinking about this, and I can't be doing this right now because I really got to focus on my career or something like that, and it's affecting my job right now. In some circumstances, that's what you have to do. I mean, and I know you don't want to do it because you want to be there for them, but really telling them that you got to back away to take care of yourself is going to make you be available for them in the future instead of just running you out.
Yeah.
And sometimes if that means that you have to suggest to them maybe seeking some kind of professional help because you don't have the tools, might be the best course of action. And I know it's so hard to tell somebody that. I mean, no one wants to be told, hey, like, you're super stressed in your life right now. I can tell you're super depressed. I've been helping you as much as I can, but this is just something that I am not trained on. And maybe you should seek somebody who is trained on it who can help you out. And that's a really tough conversation to have.
It is a tough conversation to have, and I think that it stems from a lot of the stigma that is in our society that is placed on those who are taking therapy, those who are going and getting help, is that we see them as, these emotionally needy or, as crazy or whatever. But no, it's not that way. And this is coming from somebody who is taking therapy and who's very open about it, is that, it's okay to ask for help. And I know that we've said this a million times before, and I'm planning to have a whole segment where I'm going to be talking about this, but it's okay for you to ask for help when you need it.
Yeah.
It's okay to feel like you're alone and need somebody just to tell you that you're not alone and that you matter. And yeah.
And I feel like Liam, like, at this point in time, he's almost past that point now. If somebody were to tell them, hey, maybe you should seek some help, I have a feeling that he would not take that very well.
No, and I think that from the beginning of the episode, he needed to go seek out somebody. I think he was feeling alone after that meeting. He was already kind of stressed out about the moral implications of what was going on, even though he was trying not to let on in that review or whatever it was. And so
I feel like maybe he should have sought help when he left for 5 days and didn't call her at all or let her know where he was.
Yeah, well,
I think at that point in time, or actually probably before. I mean, we don't know much about the relationship beforehand.
Yeah,
but I feel like that should have been discussed. And she did say that they were trying to get pregnant at the time, and if any of our listeners know, like if they've had fertility issues, trying to get pregnant is super stressful. It's super, super stressful. Yep. And it just causes, and like the stress about it just increases like month. It's not going to help. Just a tidbit.
Well, that's like somebody who's freaking out. You can't just say calm down and it's going to instantly happen.
Yeah, like, oh, okay, I guess you're right. I'll calm down.
I'll calm down.
Yeah.
It's more about being a calming presence, being a safe place for somebody.
Yeah. And I feel like that maybe I feel like maybe we should have maybe sought some help because we were stressed when we were having infertility issues.
Yeah.
And maybe that I feel like there is maybe more going on, like because normal people don't just leave for 5 days.
Yeah.
After an argument, there is something else going on. I feel, but anyway, the point is there was definitely warning signs, and they should have sought help sooner.
They should have. Both of them should have sought help sooner.
They should have also both admitted their faults. You know, like Liam, like he's spiraling out of control, but he's putting most of his faults throughout most of it. At the end, the last scene, he finally figures out that like this is like he's also to blame for what happened. But before that point, before it exploded, like it was all her fault. Everything was her fault. Like, but it's hard to admit your own faults.
Exactly, and that's, I think, well, and they're neither of them are completely blameless in this episode.
Yeah,
I mean,
well, and she doesn't admit her fault. Well, she only admits her fault like when she's caught in it.
Yeah, when she's completely discovered.
Yeah,
you know that, and I think that Jodie Whittaker does a fantastic job of displaying, you know, those small emotional shifts on her face, which is, you know, just brilliant. She's, you know, a fantastic actress. I cannot wait to see her as a doctor.
And I'm sure that director has some credit too.
Yeah. I mean, that's seeing her in Broadchurch. She did those emotional changes just incredibly. I mean, you can't even imagine what a parent goes through when they lose a child. But I mean, in this episode, just for, you know, to kind of go back to Black Mirror here, is and just in this episode going from, you know, this guy kind of makes me happy, but my husband's here, and now it's like, oh no, I've got to, you know, he's going to go into an anxiety spiral, and he's going to figure out what happened before. And you know, that shift on her face, and it was great because that's what was replayed.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, it must have, I don't know how many takes it took, but she did a fantastic job, I think, in portraying that. So.
And can I just note how strange I thought it was that they didn't sit by each other at the table? Like, not even across from each other. I can see if you're not going to sit next to your partner at the dinner table, whatever. But, like, I don't know. Maybe it's because we haven't been married for that long, I guess, in terms of, you know, I mean, we've been married for 6 years.
6 years, yeah.
But if we're at a dinner party, we still sit next to each other. Or, like, we'll still sit, like, across from each other, at least. But the fact that they were, like, diagonal and, like, several people away from each other, I thought that was kind of weird.
And I think that might be just, you know, kind of the director's thing. I think that it's showing the distance between them as it was at the beginning of the episode, that they were already distant from each other.
Good point. Yeah.
And I mean, it's tough once you have a baby. It's I mean, we know now that it's really difficult to find time for romance for each other. But you have to find something that the two of you can do together.
Like a podcast.
Yeah, exactly. and you know, talking about your emotions and what you're going through open and honestly with each other, because that doesn't go away once you have a baby.
No.
And I think that they were suffering through some of that distancing as well, even though it might not be his baby, but that was not, you know, made explicit at the end of the episode. But, you know.
And I think that maybe we should shift just a little bit to our own personal experience, kind of like expanding on it. I know we've been kind of like sprinkling it in a little bit, but like there was a certain point when I noticed that your anxiety was just, it was too much for me to handle. Mm-hmm. Like, for the most part, like, I could kind of ease you a little bit, but it got to the point to where, like, this was out of my hands. Like, I couldn't stop it. I couldn't stop you from spiraling. It was just going to happen, and there was nothing that I could have done about it. Maybe I could have distracted you for, like, a couple of minutes, but that was not going to be enough to stop the spiral. And I acknowledged it. Like, and I think it was good for you to, it's good for you to acknowledge when something is out of your control and that you can't help. Because I feel like if you let that person believe that you're still going to be able to help, it's just going to cause them more harm ultimately in the long run. Yeah. And in that circumstance, I couldn't help you.
Well, and I mean, we both said a lot of things that, I know that we regret, in the past. And I know that, I mean, there are still words out there that I feel like I can't take back that I said. And that's, I mean, the whole reason why we're in Cleveland now is kind of...
like, where's my kitten? Yeah. So he promised me a cat if we moved to
We
Cleveland.
Can't afford a cat right now. That's why you need to find us on Patreon and help us so that Cathy can get a cat. So
Cathy can have a cat.
And so I really feel like...
We'll let you name the cat if you donate to us on Patreon.
We'll let you name the cat.
Yeah.
It'll be Catty McCatface or something, knowing the internet.
I'm down with that.
Hey, if you're paying for the cat, you can name it whatever you want.
Yep.
It was going to be some really obscene name.
As long as it's air appropriate.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well,
sorry.
I could just imagine what the internet can come up with. So
anyway, and it has to be from a shelter. Like, I want to adopt a cat from a shelter.
Okay.
Anyway, back to Black Mirror. Not stop talking about cats.
They didn't have pets. Jonas or Liam and Fee didn't have pets. Mm-mm. Maybe they just would have complicated the episode. Anyway, you can judge a person by how many pets they have, I think.
What? Really? I know several people who don't have pets. And
we didn't have a pet because we couldn't because of our lease and our
but as soon as we could, we got him.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
And so, in my own experience, I know that there was a time, especially right after the miscarriages in Colorado, when, I kind of shut down. And I shut down because I didn't feel helpful at all in that point. Is that, it was beyond the point of, well, maybe we can't do this. Maybe we can't have kids. Maybe we're barren. Maybe it's my fault. And, that spiral that took me out of control there, it really, I think that's the point when anything would set me off. Mm-hmm. It's because I was so deep in that, what I called the rancor pit in my book was, during that time that I couldn't find my way out. I'm not a Jedi. I can't, throw skulls at buttons.
What?
Yeah.
Sorry, I've been living a lie.
So there's my nerd reference there, and from my own experience, I know how bad these spirals can get, and I know that it really can get to be that place where almost anything will set you off, mm-hmm. because you're so stuck in your spiral, you're so stuck in yourself that you really can't get out. You can't see any light. You can't really reflect on anything else because, there's nothing to reflect on besides your own mm-hmm. shortcomings.
Well, the thing was, too, at that point in time, like, I knew there was nothing else that I could do, and I was working full time. I was trying my best. I was trying to make things not as stressful for you, but I wasn't the one ultimately causing the stress. Yeah. Really. It was other factors. Mm-hmm. So if, there's only so much I can do in terms of outside factors for not causing stress. Yeah. But I think the key was throughout our marriage, we have both been very supportive of each other when we've needed it.
Yep.
When I've been really, really stressed, and when I needed to get out of a job that was causing me a lot of anxiety and stress, like, you were there for me. When you've been super, super stressed, like, I've let you know that, we're going to do what we need to do to make you feel better.
Yep.
And if that means that we have to move again, then that means we have to move again. Except for now, we're never moving again.
All right. So I know we're running out of time now, so we need to briefly, my little spiel on mental health is, if you are in the spiral and you know you need help, please seek help, because you are not alone. You matter.
And you're not weak.
You are not weak. You are not the sum of all of your fears. You are stronger than that. So go and find help. Trust me. Therapy from somebody who is still in therapy and taking medication. It helps. It helps to have somebody there who will listen to you, who will let you go off on your tangents of these fears and the what ifs, and remind you that even if the worst case scenario happens, that you will still be okay. That you matter, that you are not alone, and you matter. So I know that we've said that before many times in many of the episodes, but it's from personal experience. It's from, a good place that I say that, is that you are not alone. You matter. That is my mantra. That's what I, kind of keep bringing up. And so that's one of the things that this should be a takeaway from this episode. Yeah. Another one is that I think some things are better left unremembered.
Yeah.
I know that there a lot of people say, forgive and forget kind of things. And I think that's well and good. And I think that, I said before, is that radical love of, loving and accepting no matter what. But there's, still that time when you can't just do it anymore. You can't anymore.
Well, you can, I think the key portion of forgive and forget is the forgive portion of it. I don't think that we should necessarily forget, because if something traumatic happens, I mean, that person that did the traumatic thing, like, that you can't take away. That is always going to be in the realm of possibility of it possibly happening again.
Yeah.
But arming yourself with the right tools to prevent those things from happening, if possible.
Yeah, and
even if that means, like, leaving and getting out of that situation and not interacting with that person anymore.
A lot of it stems from those trust issues as well. Mm-hmm. I mean, if you have somebody that you honestly feel comfortable with and able to be vulnerable with, then great. Do that. Be vulnerable. Be honest. Be open with them. And I think that's the key to this whole thing, is that being vulnerable with each other and being honest about who you are. And that's where that radical love can stem from. So with all that being said, we invite you to come and give us feedback. You can do that by our phone number.
Yep.
Leave a voicemail message, 720-372-3879. You can find us on social media, on Facebook, on Twitter, on Reddit, on Tumblr. And please, 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 please like, share, subscribe, share it with your friends. If you listen to us on Apple Podcasts, review us, please. That would be great. If you want Cathy to get a cat,
please donate to us on Patreon.
Donate to us on Patreon and give us a suggestion of the cat name. Mm-hmm. Anything would help, and so that would be great. If you feel so inclined to read about that time in our lives, you can buy my book. Mm-hmm. My book is more about my struggles in youth ministry, but that has a lot to do with it. Is that, and so my anxiety. And so you can find that on thehonestfaith.com. You can also send us an email. You can find that email address in Gmail, but it's honestfaithconvos@gmail.com. And so with all that being said, we invite you to come and join the conversation.
Bye-bye.